The clock on the wall of Southwick House reads 9:30 in the morning, June 6, 1944. The greatest invasion in human history is 4 hours old, and the man who commanded it looks like he has aged 10 years overnight. Supreme Commander David Hartwell stands in the map room with his hands clasped behind his back. His uniform is crisp, his posture is perfect. But his face tells a different story, the grey pallor of a man who has not slept in 48 hours, the hollowed eyes of someone who has sent thousands of young men to die and can only wait to learn how many will not come home. Around him, officers move like ghosts through cigarette smoke. Telephones ring without pause, papers shuffle, boots click on hardwood floors. The room hums with controlled chaos, but beneath it all lies a suffocating tension. The reports coming in are not good. Omaha Beach is a slaughterhouse. American boys are dying in the surf, pinned down. Cut to pieces by German machine guns, the naval bombardment failed to destroy. The casualty estimates are staggering. 60%, maybe 70%. Entire companies wiped out in the first wave. Sword Beach is slow. The British are fighting hard, but the Germans are fighting harder. Progress is measured in yards, not miles. Gold Beach is stable but static. No breakthrough, no momentum. Hartwell stares at the map. 5 red pins mark 5 beaches. 5 separate battles that must become one unified front, or this entire invasion will collapse into the sea. If they fail here, Hitler wins 5 more years. 5 more years to build new weapons. 5 more years to perfect rockets and jets and maybe, God help them all, atomic bombs. If they fail here, millions more will die. The weight of the world rests on a stretch of French coastline, 60 miles wide, and right now the world is losing. Chief of Staff Walter Kensington approaches with a glass of whiskey. His hand is steady, but his eyes betray his worry. "Sir," Kensington says quietly, "you need this." Hartwell looks at the glass, looks at the map, shakes his head. "Not until I know they're through," he says. "Not until I know the boys are safe." Kensington nods. He understands. He has known Hartwell for 20 years. Knows that this man carries every death personally, that he will taste every drop of blood spilled on those beaches for the rest of his life. The door opens, a young lieutenant enters. His face is pale, his hand trembles as he holds a single sheet of paper. The room goes quiet. Every man turns to watch as the lieutenant crosses to Hartwell. The only sound is the ticking of the clock and the distant ring of telephones that no one answers. The lieutenant hands over the paper, salutes, steps back. Hartwell reads it once, then again. His eyes go wide. For the first time in 2 days, something shifts in his expression. Not quite relief, not quite joy. Something deeper, something complicated. He looks up at Kensington. "Juno Beach," Hartwell says, his voice barely above a whisper. "The Canadians broke through in 47 minutes. The room erupts. Officers crowd around the map. Voices rise in disbelief and celebration. 47 minutes. Impossible. The Atlantic Wall was supposed to be impregnable. Hitler himself said it could never be broken, but the Canadians did it in less than an hour. Kensington allows himself a rare smile. 47 minutes. My God. Hartwell stares at the report. At the name at the bottom of the page, Major Lucas Ford, Royal Winnipeg Rifles. "Of course," Hartwell says softly. "Of course it's Ford." Kensington raises an eyebrow. "You know him?" "I do." Hartwell sets down the paper, walks to the window, looks out at the English Channel where thousands of ships still cross back and forth. He had the most to prove and the most to lose. "Sir?" Hartwell turns, looks at his chief of staff, at the other officers now watching him. "Let me tell you about Lucas Ford," he says. Let me tell you about ghosts. August 19th, 1942. 2 years before Normandy. 2 years before Juno Beach. 2 years before 47 minutes changed the war. A different beach, a different battle, a different kind of hell. Dieppe. Captain Lucas Ford stands on the deck of a command ship 3 miles offshore. He is 46 years old. An observer, not a combatant. His job is to watch and learn and report back on Allied amphibious tactics. He watches through field binoculars as the first wave hits the beach. He watches the German guns open fire. He watches Canadian soldiers die. The beach is a killing field. Bodies pile up in the surf. Landing craft burn. Tanks bogged in the shingle cannot move, cannot fight, become coffins for their crews. The air is thick with smoke and the sound of machine guns and the screams of dying men. Ford watches it all. His hands grip the binoculars so hard his knuckles turn white. His jaw clenches. His breathing comes shallow and fast. Behind him, the ship's captain receives radio reports. All units pinned down. Heavy casualties. Cannot advance. Request immediate evacuation. The operation is 9 hours old. 9 hours of slaughter. 9 hours of watching the best and bravest of Canada bleed out on French sand. The final tally will be catastrophic. 97 dead, nearly 2,000 captured, more wounded than anyone can count. Dieppe is a disaster, and Lucas Ford can do nothing but watch. When the last landing craft limps away from that cursed beach, Ford lowers his binoculars. His face is grey. His eyes are hollow. He looks like a man who has seen into hell itself. The ship's captain approaches him. "Ford," he says gently, "this wasn't your call. You were just observing. This isn't on you." Ford turns, looks at him, says nothing for a long moment. Then, quietly, "I watched them die. I did nothing." "You couldn't have—" "I did nothing." Ford walks away, goes below deck, sits in his bunk in the dark. On his lap rests a notebook, a list of names, men he met before the operation, men who smiled and joked and talked about going home after the war, men who are now dead. Ford opens the notebook, takes out a pen, begins to write. Not a report, not an analysis, a promise. Never again will I watch Canadians die while I do nothing. Never again will I be safe while they fight. If there is another invasion, I will lead it, and I will get them home alive, no matter the cost. The words blur on the page. Ford wipes his eyes with the back of his hand, sets down the pen. He does not sleep that night, or the next, or for many nights after. The ghosts of Dieppe will not let him rest. Jump forward, 2 years of training, 2 years of preparing, 2 years of becoming someone new. Captain Ford becomes Major Ford. Observer becomes commander. The haunted man becomes the hardest trainer in the Canadian Army. His men call him the Ghost behind his back. Not because he is quiet or invisible, because of his eyes. The way he looks through them sometimes, seeing things that are not there, hearing screams from beaches 2 years and 3,000 miles away. He never smiles, never laughs, never speaks of Dieppe except to say, "We will not repeat their mistakes." He trains his battalion relentlessly, beach landings again and again, 50 times, 100 times, until every man can do it in his sleep. "Get off the beach," he tells them over and over. That is the only rule that matters. Get off the beach or die trying. His officers worry about him. His superiors question his methods. But no one can deny the results. The Royal Winnipeg Rifles become the most prepared unit in the Canadian Army. They do not know it yet, but they are preparing for Juno Beach. They do not know it yet, but their commander is preparing to face his ghosts. Night of June 5th, 1944. The camps in southern England are quiet. Too quiet. Thousands of men waiting. Thousands of men knowing that tomorrow many of them will die. In a canvas tent lit by a single lantern, Major Lucas Ford sits at a field desk. He is 48 now, 2 years older than Dieppe, a lifetime older in ways that matter. On the desk before him lies a photograph. His wife, Margaret. His 2 sons, Daniel and Robert, ages 12 and 9. Smiling, safe. 3,000 miles away in Manitoba. Ford picks up the photograph, studies their faces, memorizes them one more time. Daniel has Margaret's eyes, Robert has her smile. Both have a father they barely know, a father who left for war when they were too young to understand why. Will they remember him if he does not come back? Will they know he died trying to save others? Ford turns the photograph face down. He cannot think of them now, cannot let himself feel what he feels when he looks at their faces. If he is going to lead men into hell tomorrow, he must become steel, must become stone. He picks up a pen, begins to write.
My dearest Margaret, if you are reading this, then I did not come home. I am sorry for that, sorry for all the things I will never see. The boys growing up, Daniel's first day of school, Robert learning to read, your hair turning grey, grandchildren I will never meet. But I could not choose differently. 2 years ago at Dieppe, I watched good men die while I did nothing. That weight has crushed me every day since. Tomorrow I have a chance to balance the scales.
To prove that their deaths meant something, to make sure no other commander has to watch his men die from the safety of a ship. Tell Daniel and Robert their father died trying to save others. Tell them duty is not just about following orders. Sometimes duty means doing what must be done, even when orders say otherwise. I love you. I love them. I wish I could have had more time. But tomorrow I have work to do. Lucas. He folds the letter, seals it in an envelope, writes her name on the front, sets it aside. Then he rises, puts on his helmet, buckles his sidearm, steps out into the night. The camp is alive with quiet activity. Men checking weapons, writing letters, playing cards, praying, trying not to think too hard about what dawn will bring. Ford walks through the camp, stops at every tent, speaks to every man, knows most of them by name. At one tent, he finds Private Jacob Martinez, 19 years old, farm boy from Manitoba, youngest in his platoon, sitting on his bunk across from his best friend Tommy, playing cards with trembling hands. Ford stops at the tent entrance. Martinez, he says quietly. Jacob looks up, scrambles to his feet. Sir, at ease. Ford steps inside, looks at the cards spread between the 2 boys. Who's winning? Tommy, sir. Always Tommy. Tommy grins. Younger even than Jacob, if that is possible. 18, barely shaving. Just lucky, Major. Ford looks at them both. Looks. These children pretending to be soldiers. These boys who should be chasing girls and driving tractors and living lives that do not involve bullets and blood. Martinez, Ford says. You scared? Jacob swallows, nods. Terrified, sir. Good. Ford's voice is firm. Fear keeps you sharp. Fear keeps you alive. How do you deal with it, sir? The fear? Ford is quiet for a moment, then, I don't. I just use it. Tomorrow, when that ramp drops, you stay close to me, you keep moving. You don't stop. You do that, you'll be fine. It is a lie. Ford knows it is a lie. There are no guarantees in war, no promises he can make that will keep these boys alive. But sometimes men need to hear a lie that sounds like hope. Yes, sir, Jacob says. Stay close. Keep moving. That's right, Ford nods to Tommy. Both of you. He turns to leave, pauses at the entrance. Get some sleep, he says, without looking back. Tomorrow we have history to make. He walks away into the darkness, Behind him, Jacob looks at Tommy. "Think he's right?" Jacob asks. "Think we'll be okay?" Tommy shrugs, deals another hand. If the ghost says stay close, we stay close. They play cards until midnight. They do not sleep. Neither does anyone else in the camp. In another tent, Sergeant Leo Garrison sits with his tank crew. 29 years old, experienced, steady. The kind of man other men follow without question. He is checking his Sherman tank one final time, running his hand along the armor plating, touching the photograph of his girlfriend taped inside the turret. Helen. Blonde hair. Bright smile. Waiting for him back in Quebec. His loader, a kid named Davies, watches him. "Sarge, you think we'll make it?" Garrison looks at him. "We'll make it." "How can you be sure?" "Because Major Ford is leading us. And that man doesn't know how to lose."
Hey, what if the tanks swamp? What if we sink before we reach the beach? Garrison grabs Davies by the shoulder, looks him in the eye. Then we swim, then we fight with our sidearms, then we pick up rifles off the beach, but we don't quit. Ford won't quit, so we won't quit. Davies nods slowly. Stay with Ford. That's right, stay with Ford. It becomes a mantra through the camp, whispered from tent to tent. Stay with Ford. Stay close to the ghost. He'll get us through.
They do not know if it is true, but they need to believe it. Midnight comes and goes, 1 in the morning, 2. At 0300 hours, a jeep pulls up to Ford's tent. An MP steps out, salutes. "Major Ford, sir. Supreme Commander Hartwell requests your presence. Immediately." Ford nods, climbs into the jeep. They drive through the darkened camp to a headquarters building 3 miles away. Inside, Hartwell waits, alone, no aides, no staff. Just the supreme commander of the greatest invasion in history and a major about to lead one small piece of it. "Lucas," Hartwell says, "no rank, no formality, just 2 soldiers who have known each other a long time." "Sir, sit down." Ford sits. Hartwell pours 2 glasses of brandy, slides one across the desk. "Drink, that's an order." Ford drinks. The burn steadies him. Hartwell studies him across the desk. "I read your plan, your revisions to the Juno landing." "Yes, sir." "It's aggressive, extremely aggressive. You're proposing to ignore standard doctrine, to bypass German strongpoints instead of reducing them, to push inland before the beach is fully secured." "Yes, sir. That could get a lot of men killed, Lucas." Ford meets his eyes. "Staying on the beach will get more killed. Respectfully, sir, Dieppe taught us that." The name hangs in the air between them. Dieppe. The disaster, the wound that never healed. Hartwell is quiet for a long moment. Then, "This beach, Lucas, it's Dieppe terrain, shingle, seawall, heavily fortified. If something goes wrong, I know, sir. I can assign another unit. The British have a brigade in reserve, but..." "No, sir," Ford's voice is firm. "This is exactly why it has to be us." "Why?" "Because we know what not to do. Because we remember what happens when you hesitate, when you stop to regroup, when you try to play it safe." Ford leans forward. His eyes burn with something Hartwell has not seen in them before. Not quite madness, not quite sanity. Something in between. "Sir, at Dieppe we stopped. We tried to hold the beach. We waited for reinforcements, and the Germans slaughtered us. Tomorrow, we don't stop. We don't wait. We go through that wall like it's made of paper. We move so fast, the Germans don't have time to react." "And if you're wrong?" "Then I die first, and my men step over my body and keep going." Silence. Hartwell sips his brandy, studies this man who has carried Dieppe like a cross for 2 years. "What will you tell your men?" Hartwell asks. "What's your message before they hit that beach?" Ford does not hesitate. "Get off the beach or die. That's the only choice that matters." Hartwell nods slowly, sets down his glass. "All right, Lucas, it's your show, but understand something. If this works, you'll be a hero. If it fails, I'll be dead. So I won't care." Hartwell almost smiles. "Almost." "One more thing," Hartwell says. "The intelligence reports estimate 50% casualties in the first wave. Half your men gone in the first minutes. Can you live with that?" Ford stands, drains his brandy, sets down the glass. "Sir, I've been living with Dieppe for 2 years. I can live with anything, as long as we get through." He salutes, turns to leave. At the door, Hartwell calls after him. "Lucas." Ford stops, looks back. "Bring them home," Hartwell says quietly. "Bring as many as you can home." "That's the plan, sir. That's always been the plan." Ford walks out into the pre-dawn darkness. In 6 hours, he will either redeem himself or join the ghosts that haunt him. There is no middle ground. 6 in the morning, June 6th, 1944. The sea is angry. Waves 6 feet high crash against the hulls of 110 ships crossing the English Channel. The sky is grey, the water is black. The wind tears at canvas and steel and the faces of men who are about to die. Major Lucas Ford stands in Landing Craft Infantry number 47. Around him, 36 men in full combat gear, rifles, grenades, ammunition, rations. Every man carries 80 pounds of equipment and 1,000 pounds of fear. The boat pitches violently, left, right, up, down, no rhythm, no pattern, just chaos. Men vomit over the sides. Some have been sick all night. They are exhausted before the battle even begins, soaked with seawater and sweat and their own bile. Ford stands near the bow, one hand gripping the rail, the other inside his jacket, touching the photograph of Margaret and the boys, a talisman, a prayer. He does not get sick. He does not show fear. His men need to see stone. They need to see steel. They need to see a man who looks like he has already walked through hell and lived, even if it is a lie. Behind Ford, Private Jacob Martinez huddles next to his best friend Tommy. Both boys are green, shaking. Tommy tries to grin, tries to crack a joke, but his voice breaks. "Hey, Jake," Tommy says. "After this, we go home. Buy that farm. Remember?" Jacob nods. Cannot speak, just nods. "Partners forever, right? Partners forever." They grip hands. Hold on. 2 boys pretending to be men, pretending to be brave. Ford hears them, does not turn around, cannot let himself feel what he feels, cannot let himself see them as children, must see them as soldiers, as tools, as necessary sacrifices for a greater goal. It is the only way to lead men into hell. The naval bombardment begins at 6:30. The sound is apocalyptic. Hundreds of ships firing thousands of shells. The shells scream overhead like freight trains made of rage and fire. They crash into the French coast. Explosions bloom orange and black against the grey sky. The plan is simple. The naval guns will destroy the German bunkers, flatten the defences, leave nothing but rubble and corpses. But the plan is failing. The ships rock too much in the heavy seas. The gunners cannot aim properly. Most shells miss their targets. Most German positions survive intact. Most German guns are still waiting. Ford knows this, knows the bombardment is failing, knows his men are heading into fully defended positions. He says nothing, does nothing. Just stands at the bow and watches the coastline grow closer. 7:15. The landing craft scatter in the rough current. They are supposed to land in precise formation, each boat at its designated spot, each unit supporting the others. But the sea has other plans. Boats drift, some too far left, some too far right. The careful organization dissolves into chaos before a single shot is fired. Through the spray and smoke, Ford can see the beach now. Juno Beach, 6 miles of sand and stone and death. He can see the seawall, 12 feet high in places, topped with barbed wire. He can see the bunkers, concrete fortifications with walls 6 feet thick. He can see the obstacles in the water, steel hedgehogs, wooden posts, Belgian gates, all topped with mines. It looks exactly like Dieppe. For a moment, just a moment, Ford feels time collapse, feels himself standing on a different ship, watching a different beach, watching Canadians die while he does nothing. His breathing quickens, his vision narrows, his hand grips the rails so hard it hurts. Then a voice cuts through the roar of engines and waves and naval guns. "Major Ford!" Ford blinks, turns. Sergeant Leo Garrison stands behind him, 29 years old, tank commander, steady as stone. "Sir, DD tanks are ready to launch, but the seas... If we launch at planned distance, half will swamp." Ford looks at him, looks at the waves, makes a decision in 3 seconds that will save 29 tanks. Bring them in closer, launch at 500 yards instead of 2,000. "Sir, that puts them in range of shore batteries. Better to be shot at than drowned. Bring them in close." Garrison nods, disappears. It is the first of 100 decisions Ford will make in the next 47 minutes. Most will be right, some will be wrong, all will haunt him. 7:40, 5 minutes to landing. The noise is overwhelming, diesel engines roaring, naval guns booming, shells exploding, wind howling, waves crashing. Ford turns to face his men. They look at him with wide eyes, boys and men, farmers and factory workers and teachers, all of them terrified, all of them looking to him for something, courage, hope, a reason to step off this boat into hell. Ford raises his voice above the chaos. "Listen to me." They quiet, lean in, desperate for his words. "When that ramp drops, you follow me. I go first, I go fast. You stay with me, you keep moving. You do not stop." He pauses, meets as many eyes as he can. "Dieppe failed because we stopped, because we tried to hold the beach. Today, we go through that wall, we go through those bunkers, we go through anything that gets in our way." "What if we can't, sir?" someone asks, a voice cracking with fear. Ford's answer is ice. "Then we die trying, but we do not stop." Silence. Just the sound of the boat and the sea and the guns. Then Ford adds, quieter, almost gentle, "Stay close to me, boys. I'll get you through." It is another lie, but it is the lie they need to hear. 7:49. The ramp drops, and hell opens its mouth. The sound is beyond description. Machine guns, not one, not 10, dozens, all firing at once. A wall of sound like the world being torn in half. Ford sees the muzzle flashes from the bunkers, sees the water churning with bullets, sees the first man off the boat take 3 rounds and fall backward into the surf. Time does something strange, speeds up and slows down at the same time. Ford steps off the ramp into water up to his chest, icy cold, heavy. He pushes forward, legs pumping, rifle held high. Behind him, men pour off the boat. Some fall immediately, some make it 3 steps, some make it to the beach. The water around Ford turns red. He does not look, does not think, just moves. His boots hit sand. He runs, low, fast, zigzagging. Bullets crack past his head, tear through the air so close he feels the wind of their passage. Men scream, men fall, men die. Ford reaches a disabled tank, throws himself behind it, gasps for air, looks back. The beach is carnage. Bodies float in the surf, Bodies lie on the sand. Wounded men crawl. Medics run from man to man under fire. His battalion, his men, dying. Company B took 50% casualties in the first 60 seconds. 1 minute, half of them gone. Ford's radio crackles. "Major Ford, this is Bravo Company. We're pinned down. We can't move. What are your orders, sir? Sir!" Ford looks at the beach, looks at the bunkers spitting fire, looks at the chateau's strong point, 500 yards inland that commands the entire sector. And for 5 seconds, he freezes. Because this is Dieppe. This is exactly Dieppe. Pinned down on a killing beach. Germans firing from prepared positions, men dying by the hundreds, no way forward, no way back. He hears them in his head, the ghosts, the 97 dead from August 1942. They whisper to him, "You watched us die, you did nothing, and now you're doing it again." Ford's hand shakes, his vision blurs, his breathing comes ragged and fast. He is going to fail. Going to watch another generation of Canadians die, going to prove that he learned nothing, that he is nothing. Then he hears a different voice. Private Jacob Martinez, somewhere on this beach, 19 years old, farm boy who trusted him. "Stay close to me, boys. I'll get you through." Ford's jaw clenches, his fists tighten. Something breaks inside him. Or maybe something finally becomes whole. He keys his radio, his voice is thunder. "All units, this is Ford. New orders. Ignore the previous orders. We do not hold position. We do not wait for support. We attack now." Silence on the radio, shocked silence. "Sir," an officer says carefully, "HQ said to hold, and HQ is 3 miles away. I'm here. And I'm telling you, get off this beach or die here." Ford stands up, in full view of the German guns. Bullets snap around him. "Battalion, on me! We go through or we die." He does not wait to see if they follow, just runs, straight toward the chateau bunker, straight toward the machine guns. For 2 seconds, nothing happens. Then men stand up. 1, then 5, then 50, and they run after him. They run toward the guns that are trying to kill them, because following Ford into hell is better than dying alone on the sand. It is the most insane and most brilliant decision of the war. Ford runs like his life depends on it, because it does. He throws himself left as a machine gun traverses, rolls right as another opens fire, comes up running. A German grenade lands 5 feet away. Ford kicks it like a football. It explodes in midair. Shrapnel tears past him. He reaches the chateau wall, slams his back against it, gasps for air. Other men arrive, bleeding, exhausted, alive. Sergeant Garrison's tank rumbles up. The Sherman stops. Garrison opens the hatch. "Major, that bunker's got 6-foot concrete walls. I can't punch through." Ford looks at the bunker, at the machine gun firing through a narrow slit. An idea forms, insane, brilliant. "You don't need to punch through," Ford shouts. "Get close, aim through the firing slit." "What?" "Drive up to it and shoot through the opening." Garrison stares at him for half a second, then grins. "You're crazy, sir. I love it." The Sherman lurches forward, drives right up to the bunker. So close the barrel nearly touches the concrete. Garrison aims, fires point blank through the 6-inch firing slit. The shell goes through the opening, explodes inside the bunker. The machine gun goes silent. "2 more!" Ford shouts. "Do it 2 more times!" Garrison's tank moves to the next pillbox and the next. Each time, the same tactic. Drive close, aim through the slit, fire. 3 pillboxes, 3 explosions, 3 machine gun nests silenced. The German fire slackens. Ford does not waste the moment. "Engineers, on me!" 3 men run up carrying Bangalore torpedoes, long pipes filled with explosives. "The seawall," Ford says. "Blow me a hole." They run to the wall, shove the torpedoes underneath, light the fuse. Fire in the hole! Everyone dives for cover. The explosion is massive. The wall cracks. Chunks of concrete fly. A gap appears. Ford is first through, rifle up, scanning for targets. A German soldier appears, young, scared, rifle shaking. Ford shoots first. The German falls. No time to feel, no time to think. Just move. More men pour through the gap. The breach becomes a flood. Ford leads them into the town of Courseulles. Street fighting, house to house, room to room. A German officer fires from a window. Ford returns fire. The officer falls. Another German throws a grenade. Ford catches it, throws it back. Explosion, screams. It is brutal, vicious, desperate. But they are moving forward, not stopping, never stopping. 8:15, Captain Gordon Bryant's Queen's Own Rifles are fighting through Bernières-sur-Mer, 2 miles east of Ford's position. Bryant is 27 years old, smart, brave, the kind of officer men follow without question. He leads his company through streets filled with German soldiers. Every house is a battle, every corner is dangerous. At a fortified house near the town center, German machine guns pin down his men. Bryant does not hesitate, grabs a grenade, charges. He kicks open the door, throws the grenade, dives aside. The explosion rocks the building. Bryant rushes in, rifle up. 3 Germans dead, 2 surrendering, hands up, crying. "Secure them!" Bryant shouts. Keep moving. His men pour through, room by room, floor by floor. 15 minutes later, the house is theirs. Bryant steps outside, looks at his men, counts heads. 52 casualties, half his company, but they won. He keys his radio. "Major Ford, this is Bryant. Fortified house at Bernières secured. Proceeding inland." Ford's voice crackles back. "Good work, Gordon. Keep pushing. Don't stop." "Roger that, sir." Bryant looks at his men, these boys who followed him through hell. Some wounded, some dead, all exhausted. "You hear that?" he tells them. "We keep moving. Ford's orders, and Ford's always right." They manage tired grins, pick up their rifles, follow their captain deeper into France. Bryant does not know he has 26 hours to live. 8:20 in the morning, 31 minutes since the ramp dropped. Ford's force has taken the chateau, cleared 3 blocks of Courseulles. The beach behind them is secure enough for follow-up waves to land. But the cost. Ford stands in the middle of the town square. Around him, his men consolidate positions, set up machine gun nests, treat wounded. A runner approaches. "Sir, casualty report from first wave." Ford takes the paper, reads. Company A, 43 casualties. Company B, 68 casualties. Company C, 39 casualties. 150 men from his battalion, dead or wounded in half an hour. Ford folds the paper, puts it in his pocket. "Acknowledged," he says. His voice is flat, empty. The runner leaves. Ford stands alone. Around him, the battle continues. But for a moment, he is somewhere else. Seeing faces, hearing names. Then Garrison's voice cuts through. "Sir, German counterattack forming up. 21st Panzer Division moving in." Ford snaps back. The battle is not over, cannot stop, must keep pushing. "All units, prepare defensive positions, anti-tank teams to the front, we hold here." But then he sees something. Private Jacob Martinez, sitting against a wall, knees drawn up, rocking back and forth. Ford crosses to him. "Martinez." Jacob does not respond, does not look up, just rocks. Ford kneels beside him. "Son, talk to me." Jacob's voice is a whisper. Broken. "Tommy's dead, sir." Ford closes his eyes. Tommy, the other boy, the best friend, the farm partner. "Where?" "On the beach. First minute." His head just Gone. I was right next to him and his head just disappeared. Jacob looks up at Ford. Tears streak his dirty face. You said if I stayed close to you, I'd be fine. But Tommy stayed close to me and he's dead. Why, sir? Why him and not me? The question hits Ford like a bullet. He has no answer, no words of wisdom, no comfort to give. Because he does not know why some men die and others live, does not know why the universe chooses who bleeds and who walks away. He should say something, should comfort this boy, should hold him while he cries. But Garrison is shouting, German counterattack forming up, tanks approaching, the battle is not over, cannot stop, must keep pushing. Ford stands. Garrison, get Martinez on his feet, we're moving out. Jacob looks up at him, betrayed, abandoned. Sir, now, Sergeant. Ford walks away. Does not look back. Cannot look back. Because if he stops, if he lets himself feel what he feels, he will break. And breaking means failing, and failing means Dieppe all over again, so he keeps moving. Behind him, Garrison helps Jacob to his feet. The boy is still crying, still shaking, but he picks up his rifle and follows, because that is what soldiers do. 8:36 in the morning. 47 minutes since the ramp dropped on Landing Craft Infantry number 47. Ford stands on a small hill overlooking Juno Beach. Behind him, Courcelles is secure. The beach is secure. Canadian forces are pushing inland. Before him, the road to Caen stretches into the distance. His radio operator hands him the transmitter. Sir, HQ wants a status report. Ford takes the radio, keys the mic. HQ, this is Major Ford. Juno Beach secured. All objectives taken. Proceeding to Phase 2. Hartwell's voice comes back, tight with emotion. Confirmed, Major. Juno Beach secured in 47 minutes. Well done. Well done. 47 minutes. Ford thinks about that number. 47 minutes to do what Hitler said was impossible. 47 minutes to break the Atlantic Wall. 47 minutes to redeem 2 years of guilt. Around him, men celebrate, slap each other on the back, light cigarettes with shaking hands, laugh the terrible laughter of men who survived when they should not have. Ford does not celebrate. He walks back down the hill, back through the town, back to the beach. The tide has come in. Waves wash over the sand where men died. The water is still red in places. Graves registration teams work methodically, identifying bodies, recording names, placing them in rows. Ford walks among the dead. He stops at a young face, recognizes him, the boy who asked, "What if we can't, sir?" Ford kneels, closes the boy's eyes. "I'm sorry," he whispers. "I'm so sorry." He stands, walks to the next body, and the next. 65 men from his battalion. Gone. Names he knew. Faces he will remember forever. He takes out his notebook, the one from Dieppe, opens to a new page, writes 3 words, "We got through." Then below it, he begins a new list, names of the dead. The list will grow very long before this war is over. 10 in the morning, Canadian forces are 3 miles inland, farther than any other Allied unit on D-Day. Noon, they reach the outskirts of Caen. The objective for the entire first day, reached in 5 hours. The Canadians have done the impossible, and Major Lucas Ford, the ghost of Dieppe, has finally kept his promise. He got them through, but the cost of that promise will haunt him for 40 years. June 7th, 1944. Dawn breaks over Normandy, the second day of the invasion. The sky is clearer now, the storm has passed, but for many men, the storm will never pass. Major Lucas Ford stands in a muddy field 3 miles from Juno Beach. Around him, his battalion reorganizes, counts casualties, buries dead, prepares to push deeper into France. The sound of artillery rumbles in the distance. The Germans are counterattacking. The 21st Panzer Division is coming, elite troops with the best tanks Germany has. But Ford barely hears it. He holds a piece of paper in his hand, a casualty report from yesterday's landing, names typed in neat rows, men reduced to statistics. Company A, 43 casualties. Company B, 68 casualties. Company C, 39 casualties. 150 men from his battalion alone, dead or wounded in 47 minutes. He reads each name, forces himself to remember each face. Then he folds the paper, puts it in his pocket, returns to the business of war, because the war does not stop for grief, does not pause for mourning. The living must keep fighting, must keep bleeding, must keep dying until someone somewhere decides enough is enough. A runner approaches, young, barely old enough to shave. "Sir, Captain Bryant is requesting orders for today's advance." Ford looks up. Bryant, good officer, smart, brave, led his company through hell yesterday and brought most of them back. "Tell Bryant to hold current position. We consolidate before we push." "Yes, sir." The runner leaves. Ford returns to his maps, studies the terrain, plans the next move, the next battle, the next opportunity to get more men killed. He does not know that Captain Gordon Bryant has 12 hours to live. June 8th, 1944. 1400 hours. Ford is studying maps when the runner arrives. The boy's face tells him everything before words are spoken. "Sir, Captain Bryant." Ford looks up, waits. "Sniper, sir," moving between positions. He was laughing, telling a joke to his men, then he just fell. The words hang in the air. Ford feels something crack inside him. 27 years old, Gordon Bryant, the officer who charged through Berniers, who led his company with courage and skill, who survived the impossible, dead from a single bullet in a war that should have killed him yesterday. Ford stands slowly. "Where is he?" "The barn, sir. They've laid him there." Ford walks across the field, his boots heavy, each step an effort. The barn smells of hay and blood and death. They have laid Bryant on a wooden table, covered with a canvas tarp. Ford pulls back the tarp, looks at the face. Still young, still peaceful. The joke frozen on his lips forever. He stands there for a long time, looking at this boy who will never go home, who will never marry his Sarah, who will never have the life he fought for. In Bryant's pocket, Ford finds an unfinished letter. The paper is stained with blood. "My darling Sarah, we made it through. Can you believe it? We actually made it through. I'll be home soon. We'll have that life we talked about. The farm, the children, everything. I love you. Wait for me. The letter ends there, unfinished. The pen had dropped from his hand when the bullet found him. Ford folds the letter carefully. Will send it to Sarah anyway. Let her know his last thoughts were of her. Let her know he died believing he would see her again. He pulls the tarp back over Bryant's face. "I'm sorry, Gordon," he whispers. "I'm so sorry." Outside, the war continues, but Ford stands in the barn for another 5 minutes, saying goodbye to a friend, adding another ghost to his collection, another name for the notebook, another piece of his soul carved away. June 10th, 1944. Ford finds Private James Roy sitting alone behind a burned-out tank. The boy is 20 years old, face blank, eyes empty. Ford approaches carefully. "Roy," James looks up, does not salute, does not stand, just looks. "I'm sorry about Thomas," Ford says. Thomas Roy, James's older brother, 22 years old, killed in the first minute on Juno Beach, machine gun, dead before he hit the water. James nods slowly. "Yeah." Ford waits. Soldiers grieve in different ways. Some cry, Some rage, some go silent and hollow. James is hollow. "We were going to go home together," James says quietly. "After the war, going to work Dad's farm. Tommy was going to marry his girl. I was going to be best man." He looks at Ford. "How do I go home without him, sir? How do I face my parents and tell them Tommy's dead but I'm alive?" Ford has no answer. Has asked himself the same question 1,000 times. Why do some men live while others die? What cosmic accountant decides who bleeds and who walks away? He sits down next to James. Two men in the mud. Two men carrying weight that will never lift. "You go home," Ford says finally, "and you live for both of you. That's all you can do." Is it enough? No, but it's all we have. They sit in silence. The war continues around them. Shells explode, rifles crack. Men shout orders and die and bleed. But for a moment, two survivors sit together in the mud and share the weight. Ford does not know that James Roy will carry this weight for 71 years. Will visit Thomas's grave every single year until his body finally gives out at age 92. Some wounds never heal. The war ends May 8, 1945. Germany surrenders. Hitler is dead. The Reich is ashes. Major Lucas Ford stands in a displaced persons camp in Germany. Around him, thousands of liberated prisoners, Jews, political dissidents, resistance fighters, the survivors of hell. They are skeletons, wrapped in skin, eyes too large for their skulls, moving like ghosts through a world that tried to exterminate them. Ford walks among them, distributes rations, offers what comfort he can. But he feels nothing, no joy at victory, no relief that the killing has stopped. Just emptiness. The war is over, he survived, his ghost did not. That is all there is. September 1945. Ford returns to Canada. To Manitoba. To a wife and two sons who barely recognize him. Margaret meets him at the train station. She has aged. Grey streaks in her hair that were not there before, lines around her eyes. But she smiles, runs to him, throws her arms around him. Ford holds her, feels her warmth, smells her hair, and feels nothing. The boys hang back, shy. Daniel is 15 now, Robert is 12. Their father is a stranger now, a man who left one day and returned as someone else. "Lucas," Margaret whispers against his chest, "you're home, you're finally home." Is he? He is not sure anymore. The years pass. 1946, 47, 48. Ford gets a job at a grain elevator. Quiet work, simple work. Work that does not require him to order men to die. He wakes at 5, works until 6, comes home, eats dinner, goes to bed. He does not talk about the war. Does not attend reunions, does not march in parades. When Daniel and Robert ask about D-Day, he changes the subject. When veterans groups invite him to speak, he declines. When reporters want to write about the ghost of Dieppe, who became the hero of Juno Beach, he refuses all interviews. Margaret tries to understand, tries to reach him, tries to pull him back from whatever dark place he inhabits. But there is a wall between them now, built from bodies and blood and guilt. She cannot cross it. He cannot tear it down. At night he dreams, not good dreams, dreams of beaches, dreams of machine guns, dreams of boys with missing heads, dreams of Captain Bryant falling in slow motion, dreams of Jacob Martinez asking why, always asking why. He wakes gasping, sweating. Margaret reaches for him. "Lucas, it's okay. You're home. You're safe." But he is not safe, will never be safe, because the beach is still in his head. The guns are still firing. The boys are still dying. Every night. For 40 years. The same dreams. 1955. Autumn. Ford receives a letter. Manitoba postmark. Handwriting he recognizes but cannot place. He opens it at the kitchen table. Margaret is making dinner. Daniel is married now, living in Calgary. Robert is finishing university. The letter is short. Dear Major Ford, this is Jacob Martinez. I don't know if you remember me. I was the kid on Juno Beach, Tommy's friend. I wanted you to know I've tried. Tried to live normal, got married, got a job at a factory in Winnipeg. But I can't sleep, can't stop seeing Tommy's head disappear. Can't stop hearing your voice saying, stay close to me, you'll be fine. I know you didn't lie on purpose. I know you were trying to give us hope. But Tommy believed you, and he died. I'm writing because I need you to know I don't blame you. You got me off that beach. You gave me 11 extra years. That's more than Tommy got. I just wish the nightmares would stop. I'm so tired, Major. So tired of carrying this. Thank you for trying to save us. I know you did your best. Jacob Martinez. Ford reads the letter 3 times. His hands shake. Margaret notices. Lucas, what is it? He cannot speak. Just hands her the letter. She reads. Her face goes pale. Oh, Lucas, you need to write back. He needs to hear from you. Ford takes the letter back, folds it, puts it in his pocket. What would I say, Margaret? That I'm sorry, that I wish I could take it back? What good are words? They might help him. They might. Nothing helps. Ford's voice is flat, dead. Some wounds don't heal. He walks outside, stands in the garden. The letter burning in his pocket. He should write back. Should tell Jacob he understands. That he carries the same ghosts. That the nightmares never stop. But he does not. Cannot. 6 months later, he reads Jacob's obituary in the Winnipeg Free Press. Jacob Martinez, 31, died February 12, 1956. Survived by wife Eleanor and daughter Sarah, age 4. Veteran of D-Day, Juno Beach. Memorial service Saturday at St. Mary's Church. The obituary does not say suicide, but Ford knows. He takes out his notebook. The one from Dieppe, opens to the list of names, adds one more. Private Jacob Martinez, age 31, February 12, 1956. Juno Beach finally claimed him. That night, Ford does not sleep at all. 1974. Ford is 78 years old, retired now, spends his days in the garden, grows tomatoes and beans and flowers Margaret likes. Daniel and Robert visit on Sundays with their families. Grandchildren Ford barely knows. The grandchildren ask about the war. Ford gives them candy and changes the subject. One Sunday, Daniel's oldest son asks directly, Grandpa, were you a hero in the war? Ford looks at this boy, 10 years old, innocent, untouched by the terrible knowledge of what men can do to each other. No, Ford says quietly. Real heroes didn't come home. The boy does not understand. How could he? He lives in a world where Saturday morning cartoons show clean wars with clear villains and no blood. He does not know that war is mud and screaming and watching your friends die and carrying their ghosts forever. Margaret takes Ford aside later. You were a hero, Lucas, whether you believe it or not. I got 65 men killed, Margaret. How is that heroic? You saved thousands more. Does that balance the scales? Do the living cancel out the dead? She has no answer. Neither does he. 1984. May. Ford is 88 years old now. Body failing. Mind still sharp. Too sharp. Too full of memories he cannot escape. Margaret is sick. Cancer. The doctors say 6 months, maybe less. She lies in a hospital bed that dominates their bedroom. Tubes and monitors and machines that beep and hiss and measure her slow departure from this world. Ford sits beside her every day, holds her hand, watches her sleep. Daniel and Robert visit often, bring their families, say goodbye in stages. One afternoon, Margaret wakes, looks at him with eyes that still hold love, despite everything. "Lucas," she whispers, "the 40th anniversary is coming." "I know. They want you to speak at Juno Beach. I can't."
Why not? Because he cannot face it, cannot return to that beach, cannot stand where boys died following his orders. "I have nothing to say," he tells her. Margaret squeezes his hand. "So weak now, so fragile. You've been silent for 40 years, my love, carried this weight alone. Maybe it's time to let it go." "I can't. For me. Do it for me." He looks at her. This woman who stood by him through 40 years of nightmares and silence and distance.
Who loved him despite the wall he built, who deserved so much better than a broken man who could not let go of ghosts. "Margaret, please, before I go, I need to know you'll be okay, that you'll finally forgive yourself." Tears run down his weathered face, the first tears he has shed since Jacob's obituary. "I don't know if I can. Try, for me, just try." She dies 2 weeks later. May the 23rd, 1984. Ford buries her next to the garden where they spent 40 years growing things together. He stands at her grave after the funeral, Daniel and Robert on either side of him, their families giving him space. And he makes a decision. One last mission, one last battle, one last chance to face his ghosts. He will return to Juno Beach, June 6th, 1984. 40 years to the day, Ford stands on Juno Beach. Same sand, same seawall, same bunkers, though crumbling now. But everything is different. No gunfire, no explosions, no screaming, just wind and waves and the sound of a ceremony in progress. Thousands of people, veterans, families, officials, cameras, reporters. A stage has been erected. Speakers talk about sacrifice and honor and the price of freedom. Ford stands at the back, anonymous in the crowd, an old man in a suit that does not fit quite right anymore. No one recognizes him. He has avoided publicity for 40 years. Most people assume he is dead, but then an organizer spots him, checks a list. Eyes go wide. "Major Ford? Lucas Ford?" "Yes." "Sir, we've been trying to reach you for months. You're supposed to be on stage. You're the keynote speaker. I don't think..." "Please, sir. People need to hear from you." Ford looks at the stage, at the microphone, at the faces waiting. He thinks of Margaret. Her last request. Try. Just try. "All right," he says quietly, I'll speak."
They lead him to the stage. Veterans see him coming. Recognition spreads. Whispers. "That's Ford. That's the ghost. I thought he was dead. He never speaks. Never." Ford climbs the steps. His legs shake. Age and fear and the weight of 40 years. He reaches the microphone, looks out at the crowd, and sees ghosts. Not metaphorical ghosts, not memories, but actual faces of men he knew. Old now, white-haired, weathered by time. There, Sergeant Leo Garrison, 69 years old, in a wheelchair, missing one leg below the knee. Their eyes meet. Garrison raises a hand, salutes. Ford's throat tightens. He grips the microphone, clears his throat, begins. "My name is Lucas Ford. I led the Royal Winnipeg Rifles on June the 6th, 1944. His voice cracks. He pauses, steadies himself. "For 40 years, people have called me a hero, written articles, wanted to give me medals, wanted me to talk about that day. I refused, because I am not a hero." He looks at the beach, at the sand where men died. Heroes are buried here, in the cemetery up the road, 340 of them from Juno Beach alone. Boys who trusted me, who followed me, who died because I ordered them into hell. Silence in the crowd. This is not the speech they expected.
not the patriotic celebration, not the glory story. I made promises I could not keep, told boys they would be fine if they stayed close to me. Some of them believed me. Some of them died anyway. Ford's hands shake on the microphone. I've carried their ghosts for 40 years, seen their faces every night, heard their voices. Private Jacob Martinez asking me why his friend died. Captain Gordon Bryant falling to a sniper's bullet the day after we won. The Roy brothers, and only one came home. Tears stream down his face now. 40 years of tears held back. 40 years of grief unleashed. Jacob wrote to me in 1955, said he couldn't sleep.
Couldn't stop seeing his friend die. He didn't blame me, but he killed himself. 6 months later, he was 31 years old. A sob escapes. Ford grips the microphone harder. I don't know if what we did was worth it. I don't know if breaking through in 47 minutes justified the cost. I don't know if the ends justify the means. He looks up, meets the eyes of the survivors, the old men who were young men once. But I know this, they did not die for nothing.
They died so France could be free, so their children could live without tyranny, so we could stand here today and remember. His voice breaks completely. I have carried their ghosts for 40 years. Today, I finally ask their forgiveness. He cannot continue, stands at the microphone, weeping. An 88-year-old man breaking down in front of thousands. No one moves, no one speaks. Then someone starts clapping, slow, rhythmic, Leo Garrison in his wheelchair, hands coming together. Then another veteran, and another, and another. The applause builds, not celebratory, not triumphant, something deeper, something that acknowledges pain and sacrifice and the terrible cost of victory. Ford steps back from the microphone, walks off the stage on shaking legs. A man in a wheelchair waits at the bottom of the steps, Leo Garrison. Major Ford, Leo says. It's been a long time, sir. Ford looks at him, at the missing leg, at the wheelchair. Leo, my God, what happened? Korea, 53, landmine, but that's not your fault, sir. Ford kneels beside the wheelchair, eye level. Two old warriors. Leo, I'm sorry, for all of it, for everything I put you through. Garrison grips Ford's hand, strong despite the years. Sir, you got us off that beach. You saved my life. I've had 31 extra years because of you. Got married, had kids, grandkids, all because you made the call to push forward. But the ones who didn't make it knew the risk, we all knew, and we followed you anyway because we trusted you. Ford cannot speak, can only hold this man's hand and weep. Jacob Martinez wrote me a letter in 55, Garrison says quietly, year before he died. Said you gave him 11 extra years. Said even with the nightmares he was grateful. He wanted me to tell you that if I ever saw you. Why didn't he tell me himself? Because he knew you were carrying enough, didn't want to add to it. They sit together. Two survivors. Two men who carried the beach for 40 years. You did good, Major, Garrison says. You got us through. That's all we asked. Ford nods. Cannot speak. Just nods. Ford walks the beach alone after the ceremony. The tide is coming in. Waves wash over sand where men died. He finds the spot where his landing craft dropped its ramp, where he charged into the water, where it all began. He stands there, closes his eyes. Hears the ghosts one last time. Machine guns, explosions, screaming, his own voice shouting orders, Tommy's laugh in the tent the night before, Bryant's unfinished letter, Jacob's question, why him and not me? Then slowly the sounds fade. The ghosts quiet, not gone. They will never be gone. but quieter now, gentler, at peace. Ford opens his eyes, looks at the peaceful beach, the families walking, children playing, life continuing. He takes out his notebook, the one from Dieppe, opens to the last page, writes 4 sentences, 47 minutes to break through the wall, 40 years to break through the guilt. Some battles we win, some battles win us, but we keep fighting until we can finally rest. He closes the notebook, turns away from the beach. A French child, maybe 8 years old, runs up to him, holds out a small Canadian flag. "Monsieur," the child says in accented English, "for you, thank you for saving France." Ford takes the flag, kneels down. "Do you know what happened here?" he asks gently. "Yes, my teacher told us. Canadian soldiers freed us. Many died. Do you remember them, even though it was so long ago?" The child nods solemnly. "We remember. We always remember." Ford begins to cry again. The child, confused, asks, "Why are you sad, monsieur?" Ford wipes his eyes, smiles through tears. "Because you remember. After all this time, after all these years, you remember." He stands. The child runs back to his family. Ford looks one last time at Juno Beach, then walks away. Toward the parking lot, toward home, toward whatever years remain. The ghosts walk with him, but lighter now, quieter. Forgiven, perhaps, or at least understood. The years after Juno Beach are quieter for Ford. He attends a few more ceremonies, gives a few more speeches, always brief, always honest about the cost. He reconnects with Daniel and Robert, finally tells them about the war, about the beaches and the ghosts and the weight he carried. They listen, they understand, they forgive him for the distance. "We always knew you were fighting something, Dad," Daniel says. "We just didn't know how to help." "You helped by being there," Ford tells them, "by being alive, by being proof that the world went on." He becomes closer to his grandchildren, tells them stories, not war stories, stories about their grandmother, about growing things in gardens, about how life continues. October 1992, Ford knows he is dying. The doctors do not need to tell him, he can feel it. The way his breath comes shorter, the way his heart skips beats, the way his body slowly shuts down after 96 years of carrying weight. His sons come to visit. Daniel, 64 now, Robert, 61. Grey-haired men with grandchildren of their own. They sit by his bed in the hospice. Uncomfortable, unsure what to say to this father they have come to know only in the last few years. Ford looks at them, really looks at them, sees Margaret in their faces, wishes he had been a better father earlier, but grateful for the time they had. "Boys," he says quietly, his voice is weak now, "I need to tell you something." They lean in. "I was never a hero, no matter what they said. I was just a man, trying to outrun his ghosts." "Dad," Daniel begins. Let me finish." Ford coughs, continues. "I got men killed, good men, boys your age, and I carried that weight so long I forgot how to put it down." "You saved thousands," Robert says. "Maybe, but I couldn't save everyone, and that's what haunted me." Ford reaches for Daniel's hand, then Robert's, holds them both. "I'm sorry I was distant. Sorry I couldn't be the father you deserved. The ghosts, they took so much of me, left so little for you." Daniel wipes his eyes. "We understood, Dad. We didn't know how, but we understood you were fighting something we couldn't see. Your mother deserved better. She loved you anyway, until the end." Ford smiles. First real smile in years. "She was too good for me." They sit in silence. Father and sons, connected finally after decades of distance. "The notebook," Ford says, "in my drawer. Take it to the Juno Beach Center. Let them display it. Let people see what war really costs. We will. And boys, tell your children about the men who didn't come home. Tell them their sacrifice meant something. Tell them... His voice fades. His breathing slows. Daniel and Robert hold his hands tighter. We love you, Dad, Daniel whispers. We always did, Robert adds. Ford's eyes close, a smile on his lips. His last thought is not of beaches or bullets or blood. It is of Margaret, young again, smiling, waiting for him in the garden they grew together, and of the ghosts, not haunting now, just walking alongside him, brothers in arms, finally at peace, Tommy and Jacob, Bryant and the Roy brothers, all the boys who never came home. I'm coming, Margaret, he whispers. Tell the boys I'm coming home. November 3rd, 1992. Lucas Ford dies peacefully, age 96, surrounded by sons who loved him despite everything. The ghosts follow him into whatever comes next. The funeral is small, family mostly, a few surviving veterans. Leo Garrison, 77, in his wheelchair. They bury him next to Margaret, next to the garden. Daniel reads from the notebook before they close the coffin. 47 minutes to break through the wall, 40 years to break through the guilt. Some battles we win, some battles win us, but we keep fighting until we can finally rest. He closes the notebook, places it on his father's chest. Rest now, Dad. You've earned it. They lower the coffin. 21 guns fire. Taps plays. The ghosts of Juno Beach stand at attention, salute their commander one last time, then fade into the autumn air. June 6, 2004. The Juno Beach Center stands on the sand where men died 60 years ago. Inside, in a climate-controlled case, Lucas Ford's notebook lies open. Visitors stop, read, reflect. A plaque beside it reads, Major Lucas Ford, Royal Winnipeg Rifles, led the breakthrough at Juno Beach in 47 minutes, June 6, 1944. Carried the cost for 48 years. This notebook contains his promise, his guilt, and his final peace. Next to it, artifacts tell the story. Ford's helmet, his compass, letters from Jacob Martinez and Gordon Bryant's widow. Photographs line the walls, young men who will be forever young, Tommy and Thomas Roy, Jacob Martinez, Captain Bryant, Sergeant Garrison before Korea took his leg, and Ford himself. In different stages of life, the haunted observer at Dieppe, the determined commander before Juno, the broken veteran in the decades after, the peaceful old man at the 1984 ceremony. A video plays on loop. Ford's speech from that day, 88 years old, weeping, finally letting go. Families watch, children ask questions, veterans salute. Outside, waves wash the beach, children play, families walk, life continues, as it should, because 340 men died here so that life could continue, Lucas Ford among them, not in body, but in the pieces of his soul he left on this sand. The ghosts are quiet now, the war is over, finally.